Hello and welcome everybody to Talking Golf Tuesday Upgrade Edition. I'm going to call it Golf Equipment Upgrades, something like that. What's the first thing you should upgrade if you're a new golfer? All right, these are my opinions. I'm not a teaching pro. I'm just a golf enthusiast, okay, who likes equipment. So we're going to talk about that and I'm going to share my experience. I'm also going to reveal my first ever custom built set. That's right, I built my own set of clubs and I'll share my thoughts about that. All right, so let's dive in. Let's dive into this. Here, let me give you the summary first, all right? If you just want to get out of here, in my opinion, and what worked for me was kind of a parallel, where I did two things at once. So I was really happy with my first ever putter, which I purchased at a thrift store called The Mission in Michigan in 1999. And so my putter kind of stayed. This is a Ping Zing putter I'll show you here in a second. And then I kind of developed my wedges and my driver at the same time, then my irons, then my long irons, then my fairway woods, okay? And that's how I upgraded it. But why? Let's dive into that. So my first ever experience, thrift store, mishmash of irons, none of them matched. I remember I had a Ping Zing, like an actual Ping Zing 9 iron, which I loved, by the way. I had a Ben Hogan 2 iron. Yeah, just a blade, just ridiculous to hit. I remember I hit one good shot with it. The first time I hit it, I was like, oh, long irons are easy to hit. No, they're not. And then I think I had a wooden 3-wood and it's just a hodgepodge of things. I had this aluminum Northwestern driver. I made a video about it, the Northwestern TI Matrix or something, titanium matrix driver. And okay, I got around to par 3 just fine with that set, okay, with my buddy. And then, so I started working at a golf course when I was in college. And so this was mid-2000s. And the pro gave me some tips with my driver, and so I could hit it straight, okay? I could hit it pretty good, and it looks different than it does now. You know how it is, like, when you're young and really, like, athletic. Not that I was super athletic, but more athletic than I am now. I had a pretty good swing. It looked totally different than what it is now. I had some hip problems. Needless to say, biomechanics change. And so I was pretty comfortable with my driver straight off the bat. And at the same time, I was in university and I signed up for a golf class where they focused a lot on chipping because they didn't have a full range. So we spent most of our time chipping and putting. And I became very comfortable with wedges, a 56-degree sand wedge and a 60-degree lob wedge. And then I went from pitching wedge straight, skip the gap wedge, pitching wedge straight into 56-degree sand wedge, 60-degree lob wedge. My pitching wedge was the fill-in. Anything in between that gap, I remember I just hit pitching wedge. So I was pretty comfortable with that. And then, so at the same time as like that was going on, I was comfortable with my drives because I had purchased, I have it here, this old TaylorMade steel, super steel driver. This is pretty small. This is like what, 350 cc, 360, I don't know exactly. It's a small steel head. Okay, and this is what I was using when the pro was teaching me. And he kind of was like, get something. And you can see there's all sorts of like sky marks on it. There's all sorts of like, this has had a rough life with me. And he's just like, he's like, well, I guess it's okay that you're using this because it'll teach you how to strike the ball properly, okay? Which at the time I could do after some coaching. But so the Club Pro, got me going pretty good with this. So I was developing my driving and everything else was just, it was really hard for me to hit a good iron shot because I just didn't practice. It wasn't on my list. We weren't doing that in my golf class in college. And so my only practice I got was really on the range occasionally. And because I worked on a golf course, so I'd golf. And so when I was out there on the course, it was just practice, right? And so after a while, I got pretty good. I was shooting around 80. Then, in like 2006 to 2009, I started like building clubs. And after a year, I was like, I can build my own set of clubs. So I did. Do you want to see what I built? Okay, for starters, I didn't build a complete set. Because I had this gem right here that I found at the thrift store. The Ping Zing putter, I really like this putter. It grew on me to a point where I was just very comfortable with it. At the time, I had I don't do this anymore, but I used to hold it like this, and I would I put my pinky down here like this and my index finger on my wrist, and I just felt like it gave me a lot of stability, and that's how I would putt. People call it the claw or the reverse claw. I'm not really sure what it's called, but that's what I did back then, and I liked it. Now I do it different, but I still like this style of putter. I might talk about that here in a minute. Let's just leave the head cover off of this. It's a Ping Zing putter. Okay, so I was comfortable with my putter, so I just needed irons, fairway woods, and driver. And at this stage is when I started working on those things. But I hadn't really practiced with it or had a lesson in fairway woods or long iron, so I just built the set. So I built my irons were these Tor Cavity irons from Golfsmith. And I was really happy with these. Pitching wedge through 5-iron, okay? And I could hit these really consistently as I practiced with them on the golf course, okay? Like I said, I worked on a golf course, so I was pretty good with these, you know, and I was like, it was a revelation because they finally were all the same brand with the same lie, and they were consistent, okay? So super happy with these. I was like, oh wow, they're great. I put in regular flex shafts because I had this idea, and I still have this idea. I'm not sure if it's true, but it feels like it was less harsh because sometimes you get like hard pan, like fairways or rough, where it would just like really hurt my elbows when I would miss-hit a ball, or just even like after you connect with the ball, it would just kind of bounce off the ground sometimes when it was really dry. And so I thought a regular shaft helped with that. Not sure if it's true, but that's just what I wanted, okay? So according to Golfsmith charts, my swing speed was such that I should be in stiff flex, but I just ignored that. I just went with regular shaft, and it worked. It served me really well. I still like these clubs. They still feel great. So regular flex, Tor Cavity, irons. Okay. Served me well. And then for fairway woods, I really like the Adams style, big flat head. So I built these Python snake eyes, again, from Golfsmith. They have these two big weights back here. They're just, it's visible tech. They could have hid them, but whatever. So it's just a big flat head. This is the first time I really started practicing with fairway woods, and I got pretty good with the 3-wood, and I also have a 5-wood here. I'm just gonna leave them out of the head covers. Look at these ratty old beat up head covers. These were the original head covers that came with them. Branded Python, stiff flex graphite shafts to match. Here's the 5-wood. So starting to recognize, hey, I need some long game here. But no hybrids. It was all irons. You saw 5-iron all the way to pitching wedge. And I didn't have a gap there between my 5-wood and my 5-iron. Nothing. It was just nothing. And then the last thing was the driver, which was Georgia Tech. Every college in Georgia I love. Just Georgia. Go Georgia. University of Georgia, Georgia Tech, whatever, was this Viper TI4. It looks like this is kind of a knockoff of the Ben Hogan Big Ben. It's loud. It's 440 cc. It's not quite 460 cc, but I like the idea of the adjustable weights, which at the time I played with all the time. I'm like, it's gonna help my. But ultimately, what helped me most was lessons with our pro named Steve. Okay, and so you can see there's ball strikes everywhere, all over the place on this thing. This one does have a matching Viper TI4 Snake Eyes shaft. I think this is a regular flex. It might be stiff. Either way, this driver and I have lots of memories. So all of a sudden, with a consistent set, with a driver, you can see the difference here. With a slightly bigger driver, which I felt a little more comfortable with and had a little bit more consistency with, my scores all of a sudden dropped below 80, where it was just like not great. I think my best ever, I don't remember, it was like 70 something. It was never under par, okay? So I never like broke par, or never shot like birdie golf. But, I was happy with my golf game. And at the time, I was playing like, I want to say every day, but not every day. It was like, was it 4 times a week? Just after work on the golf course, we would just go play, because we could, in the evenings, we just go play as many until it got dark. So I got lots of practice, felt pretty good about my game. And then you graduate from college and you go work, and then all of a sudden, okay, so for me, like if I now were to have a brand new starter set, box set, whatever, and I'm just looking to replace clubs. Would I build my own clubs? No, I wouldn't. It's just too time consuming. I feel like I'd be better served buying new or used equipment off of like eBay. Just my opinion. You get the same bang for the buck. You get a brand name. They've done all the work for you. They have adjustable hosels now, adjustable necks. There's no need to build your own. Just get the right flex, or if you want to replace your shaft, you can do that too. It's kind of expensive. So if I had a completely brand new set now, and let's say I was a beginner, I'm just going to pretend I'm a beginner golfer. Okay, I'd be sure that I have a putter I like first. Then I'd be sure I have a driver that I like, where I can start practicing. When I go to a coach or a lesson, I can say, hey, this is my driver, I would like some help, and then you have the club that you're going to be using and they can help you out with it. Might maybe make some minor adjustments, but usually the lesson is going to be more valuable than a minor adjustment to your neck or hosel. And then to me, I would look to make sure you're comfortable with your wedges. So make sure that your gapping is right. Be sure you're comfortable with your gap wedge, sand wedge, lob wedge. Close game to me is very important for a new golfer. Okay, your irons, lots of box sets, lots of beginner iron sets are 95%, 98% of what a high-end golf iron set would be. If your gapping's okay, I wouldn't really replace your irons. I would just kind of skip over irons. And then I would get some long iron hybrid style things. And then last I'd get fairway woods. And if you do want to replace your irons, maybe do that last. Those are just kind of my thoughts about the hierarchy of like, in these starter sets that I'm seeing with like aluminum drivers, most of them, putter sometimes aren't so great. Putter driver, first thing, make sure your wedges are squared away before you focus on your long irons. Then long irons, then fairway woods. And if you do want to replace your irons, the irons last. So those are just my thoughts, my opinions. That's how I would do things. Now, as a new golfer, or not as a golfer who's been golfing for more than 20 years, again, not a pro, just an active golfer. My long, like the 200 yard plus range is difficult. 190 plus is hard for me, right? So I want to be sure that I have hybrids I like. I have a Callaway Big Bertha 19 degree. Is it 19? I have 24 degree Titleist, 21 degree Titleist. I've been using these for years. Very comfortable with my hybrids. 3-wood Pings. This is the Ping G SF Tech 3-wood, which I really love. The putter I'm using right now is very similar to my first putter, Ping Zing. Instead of a Ping Zing, I have a Ping ZB Vault 2, just because I like the looks of it. I like the look of it, that's why. Ping ZB Vault 2.0. The driver, and so I replaced some things. I have some, I'm just going to tell you what I have. So I have a 54 degree Cleveland RTX 6, 54 degree mid 10 degree bounce. I have a Cleveland RTX 6 zip cord, 60 degree with 10 degrees of bounce, I think. There's some debris here, which is obscuring the numbers. And then I also have a 50 degree Vokey. This is an SM8. This is the older model. 50 degree, 8 degree bounce. Gap wedge. AP. So I'm going to try these AP2 Titleist irons this year. Titleist AP2. Is this a 2000? I don't remember what year this is. It's 2014, 15, 16, something like that. One of those. No, it's in the name. AP2. Oh no, it doesn't have it here. Oh, it's 16. So this is 2016, the 716 model year. Irons. From pitching wedge to 5-iron. And then I have my 3 hybrids, which I discussed. My fairway and my putter. My driver right now, I'm going to try this. I use my TaylorMade M2 forever. I want to try this Maverick. This is just a 9 degree Maverick driver. And I don't think this is a Max. I think this is just a normal Maverick driver. I looked at some numbers and it's about the same as my M2. So whatever, just a change. Doesn't get me anything, it's just different. Just want to try a different set this year. So let me know your thoughts. What advice would you give to a new golfer? If you are a new golfer and you have any questions, ask in the comments below. We have people, lots of experienced golfers that can respond to you here on this channel. My first ever, and let me know your thoughts about my first ever custom set. I remember the first time I looked down with these snake eyes looking back at me, I'm like, yes, a new set, a complete set, well, almost minus the putter, of irons and fairway woods, new driver. In hindsight, I probably would have, no, I was going to say maybe I'd get hybrids, and focus on that long part of my game, but I really, at that stage in my game, needed to work on my irons and my fairway woods. So yeah, I'm pretty comfortable with how everything panned out. And it makes me feel old just remembering my gapping back then. So we should move on to fantasy golf. So first thing I'm going to do is put the winners up here so everybody can see the season leaders and the week winners. It was a very memorable weekend. Was it Tom Brady who topped the ball? It was all over the news. It was cut short because of the rains. I hope everybody's safe. Stay safe, everybody. But yeah, it was not good for me in the fantasy world. I'd say like near the bottom, it was not good. If you'd like to join us on fantasy golf, quick change the subject. No, as a reminder, set your lineups now. If you need to adjust them on Wednesday, do that. So, yeah, interesting, good times in fantasy golf. It's free to join. I'll put a link in the description below to our league. You just go to PGA Fantasy Golf, just type it in, internet search it, and then click on it, free account, join our league. And you too can make it here on these lists. So, that's it. Thank you to my patrons. I really appreciate your support. Looking forward to everybody's comments. And one other way you can support the channel besides Patreon is you can visit my Amazon shop. I'll put a link in the description below. I am an Amazon associate. I make proceeds from qualifying purchases. Thank you everybody for your support. If you enjoy this content, please subscribe. I am The Vintage Golfer.